Welcome back, students. We are talking about time value of money today and understanding if we should be using negative or positives when it comes to certain terms in time value of money. My goal for this video today is to get you to understand when you should be using a certain direction and get you updated with the language that you need to quickly see and recognize, okay, in this case, I should be using a negative, or in this case, I should be using a positive, okay? So, if you're new to time value of money, you may have seen that in some cases you're expected to use a negative number, and in some cases you're expected to use a positive. And if you're at the point where you're solving for time or interest rate, you may have actually seen that you're getting an error when you're putting in your present value, payments, and future value. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to get you comfortable with the language that we use so that you can quickly identify which direction you should be putting these terms in. So I'm going to give you the very simplest answer first, okay? I'm going to put you here. That's you, okay? So this is very simple. This is what I tell my students. If you have money that's coming into your pocket, it's coming to you, that's going to be a positive. All right. So income, payments, that's all coming to you. That's going to be a positive number in your financial calculator. If, on the other hand, you are making payments or money is leaving you, or you are going to invest money into something, that is a negative, right? So a negative is when money is leaving. A positive is when money is coming back to you. So very simple. If you can keep that in mind, actually the video is done, but I have some examples and some vocabulary that I think are going to make that really easy for you to remember going forward. All right, so understanding some key words. So again, this is money that's leaving you. This is a negative, okay? So for example, when you see that you are making investments, okay, I actually want to put that in red. When you're making an investment, so you're reducing your cash position and you're going to make an investment, right? So that in the future, you can get money back. But that money is leaving your pocket so that you can make that investment. Whenever you need to make payments, right? That one's very simple, actually. You're making payments, you know that definitely money is leaving you. It's going to be a negative in your financial calculator. Expenses are negative, right? It's money that's being expensed, money that's leaving. Loan payments. Again, we see this keyword payments. Contribution, right? You're making monthly, quarterly, yearly contribution to say something like a pension fund or a retirement fund. Those are funds that are leaving so those contributions can be made. And then we have sometimes you'll see premiums. Okay, for example, insurance premiums, right? These need to be paid. That means that you're making the payments, that money is leaving. So let's understand some key words of money that's actually going to be a positive. It's coming towards you, right? Now you'll notice, so I'm going to put a positive here. You'll notice that we have payments here. We actually have payments in both. So it's important that you understand the context of the problems where you actually read the word payments, right? Are these payments that you're making, or are these payments that someone is making to you? It's really important that you read the problem carefully so that you understand how to put these values into your financial calculator. The second word I have here is income. This one is really easy. It's your income. It's money that's coming towards you, right? It's your income. Loans. Loans are tricky. For some reason, students tend to think that loans are negative. But the way you need to think about this is you're going to a bank and you're borrowing money. That's actually money that's coming to you. Now, you may then use that money to buy a car that you need to make payments on, buy a house that you need to make mortgage payments on, and those payments would be negative, okay? So next we have bond coupons. When we start talking about bonds, you know that when you purchase a bond, you're entitled to coupon payments. Those payments are made back to you. And then we have investment returns. So when you make an investment today, right, you're expecting a return, a positive return on your investment in the future. So I've got a couple of practice problems here for you guys. Now, you guys can stop the video here and you guys can go through these. And what I want you to determine is, are these positive or are they going to be negative when you put them inside of the financial calculator? Okay, so I'm going to go through them now. So last chance to pause the video. So let's go through this. You deposit, okay, are you going to put that in as a positive or a negative in your financial calculator? You're going to put that in as a negative. That's money that's leaving you to be deposited, okay? Next one. This investment promises to pay you. Keyword, promises to pay you. Is it going to be a positive or negative to you? It's going to be a positive on the financial calculator. And then we have, you are exploring financing options. It's a fancy word to say you're going out to get a loan. And what did we say about loans? They are going to be positive. Okay. Next one. This plan requires annual contributions. You need to contribute. That means money is going to be leaving you. Okay. So we're going to put that in as a negative. Let's keep going. I have a few more. So a little bit more complicated. This loan will require annual payments of X amount of dollars, right? In this case, you need to look at it from your perspective. It'll require annual payments. That's going to be a negative, okay? Next one. This real estate investment promises you an annual rental income of X amount of dollars. Here's the key word. Promises you an annual rental income. That's going to be positive. Next we have, you have been consistently investing. Okay, you're investing. I know this one's a little tricky because students maybe think investing, it's still my money, but it's not really cash that you have available. You actually had to reduce your cash on hand to make that investment, right? So that cash still needed to leave. So that's going to be a negative. Okay. Now, I've got an example here that we're going to go through and we're going to identify what should be positive and what should be negative and what our expected result should be. Should be positive or negative. So let's go through this problem. So you are considering an investment of $10,000. You consider making an investment of $10,000, right? That promises to generate a consistent return of 8.5%. How much will your initial investment turn into after 10 years? Okay, so let's go through the first term. So here we've identified that this is our initial investment. So this is our present value, right? Should this be positive or negative in the financial calculator? This is going to be negative $10,000. That money is leaving, as I like to tell my students, it's leaving to go to work for you and make more dollars. So it's leaving, it's a negative, okay? We have our interest rate here, okay? And we have our time period, which is 10 years. Now, there's no mention of payments. So payments is going to be 0. So which term are we looking for, right? So how much will your initial investment turn into? That is the question. So we are looking for the future value. So before we actually solve it in our financial calculator, is the future value going to be positive or is it going to be negative? I'll give you a chance to think about that. You can pause the video if you need more time. So let's grab our financial calculator here and let's put in our terms. So I'm going to, as always, clear my time value of money to make sure there's nothing there. I'm going to start from left to right. We have 10 years, an interest rate of 8.5% per year. The present value, that's what our investment started with, we said is going to be negative. There are no payments. So here's your last chance. Is future value going to be positive or negative? Let's compute future value. It's going to be positive, right? Because we're taking $10,000 today and we're investing it. So we should expect a positive return in the future. of, in this case, $22,609.83. Okay, I hope that was straightforward and I hope that was helpful. I have one more example for you. Okay, so your farm requires a new tractor and you're looking into financing one for $175,000. So looking into financing one, right? At an interest rate of 5.5% over a 6-year period. So where is the question? How much should you expect to pay at the end of each year? Okay, so this tractor, we're making yearly payments at the end of the year. So what did I tell you about financing? It's a fancy word for borrowing. And what did we say about borrowing? You're going to go to the bank, you're going to borrow money, right? That's coming to you, and you're going to have $175,000. So your present value is going to be a positive $175,000. Now, I think the financing one maybe confuses students because let's say, for example, when you buy a car, well, you never actually, I guess in some cases, you actually go to the bank and get a check. But in many cases, all the financing is done at the dealership. So you never actually get to actually hold a check or hold money. That money just gets transferred from the bank directly to the dealer, and you just end up making payments, right? But we know that that money is actually coming to you that you then use to buy that vehicle that you then owe payments on, right? So we have a positive because we're borrowing that money. Okay, we have our interest rate of 5.5%, and we have our time period of 6 years. So this is asking, how much should you expect to pay? So it's asking about our payments. Now keep in mind that future value, because this is a loan, will always go to zero. We're going to pay off the entire loan. So should payments be positive or negative? Remember, you've borrowed money to buy this tractor. So therefore, it makes sense that the payments are going to be negative in respect to you, right? That's money that's going to be leaving you to be making those yearly payments. So let's just confirm that with our calculator. And as always, second clear time value of money. So let's go through the terms here. We have a 6-year period. We have an interest rate of 5.5, and we have a present value of $175,000, which is what we borrowed. Nope. See, almost tricked me. And then we have, I always like to put 0 for a future value, just in case. And then we're going to compute the payments, right? So this is going to be our yearly payment. As you can see, it's negative because it's telling us, hey, this is what you owe, right? And that's what we're going to go owe every year for this loan. Now, to make this a little easier, the only terms, at least in an introductory class where you're learning about time value of money, the only terms that you need to worry about being positive or negative are going to be present value, payment, or future value, okay? Especially if you're learning about time value of money. Time, which is N, is always going to be positive, and the interest rate is going to be positive. Now, in more advanced finance courses, could the interest rate be negative? It's possible, but you don't need to worry about that here, okay? All right, so that's pretty much everything I wanted to express to you guys in terms of vocabulary, understanding, direction. I do, however, there's one thing I wanted to mention, is what happens if you ignore the terms, right? Positive or negative. So let's say, for example, that you are solving for the interest rate. You've been given an amount of time, you've been given a present value, payments, and future value. If you ignore the positive and negative terms, you will get an error 5, okay? Then you'll have to go back to your question, read it, and figure out which terms need to be positive or which terms need to be negative. Okay, I just wanted to leave you with that caveat to say you really do need to understand this. You can't just say, this is too detailed, I'm not going to spend any time on it, because you'll struggle, especially when you're trying to solve for either time or interest rates, okay? All right, there was one thing. So Now I'm going to do a little bit of a deeper dive. If you really just needed to understand very quickly whether to use positive or negatives, I'm pretty much done. Okay, now if you want to understand a little bit deeper as to why the calculator does this versus why our formulas don't work this way, stick around and I'm going to spend a little bit of time on this. So, as you can see here, I've got the formula for present value, and of course I've got our calculator here. Now for present value, you'll notice that for the most part, we're putting in all of the values in as positive. And that's because our formulas for time value of money are just mathematical expressions. Okay, and what do I mean by that? So let's go here. Again, we have the formula for present value, and you can see that this question here is the same as I showed earlier. $10,000 compounded for 10 years at 8.5%. Now, I already have the result here, $22,610. You can see that if we discount this $22,610, so this is our future value, right? This is our time period, and this is our interest rate. If we were to put this into our present value formula, right, we have 22,610, 1 plus the rate, which we need to convert from percentage to decimal. And then for the time periods, it's 10 years. Okay, you guys can go ahead and put that in your calculator. But I know for the most part, you're going to be off by, I think, maybe 7 cents. But the present value is going to be $10,000. Whereas our calculator says that the answer is actually negative $10,000. So as I explained before, the actual formulas for time value of money are pure mathematical expressions. The actual calculator applies a cash flow convention because your business people in training, maybe you're in the College of Business, you need to understand whether that cash flow is coming towards you or if it's leaving you. You need to know if you have a responsibility to make payments in the future, and those payments are going to be are going to show as a sign as a negative in your calculator. So I actually think that this helps you really think through, why is that number a positive or why is that number a negative? Okay, so that's the difference between the formulas and the calculator. I do have some final thoughts for you, and that is that many times in finance, so far our solutions have been positive or negative. But actually, when you start to get into finance, you'll find that a lot of times a number that you would have seen as a negative here in the time value of money will actually show up in a document as a number without a sign, positive or negative. And that's because, for example, when you go out to purchase a car or get a mortgage for a house, they're not going to present you with a document that says you need to pay negative $550 a month for this car note. That doesn't really make sense. You need to understand the context of that number. So later on in the semester when I'm teaching this, I really stop giving students yes, the solution is a negative, right? The solution is this, and you need to interpret it. So like I gave in the example of the car, same thing with a home loan or a mortgage. You're not going to get a mortgage that says, hey, your monthly payment is negative $2,200 a month, because it really doesn't make sense in that contract when it's written with a negative, right? You need to understand the context of what that number means. So I just wanted to leave you with those final thoughts. I hope this video was of some value. I know they're going a little bit long, but I just want to share my thoughts with everyone, and I hope that they really do help. All right, I'll see you guys in the next video.